Welcome. This is your St. Pius X moment. I'm Aly. I went to the Capitol last Monday to tell my story about my daughter Camille in support of a bill that would ban abortion based on disability, which, in case you didn't know, is an exception here in Texas to the 20-week limit. When I got Camille's so-called fatal diagnosis, I was not Catholic, Christian, or even pro-life. It was a total God thing that the right support came in when I needed them. God broke through the lies I was being told about death being the only answer to that incredibly tough situation. God drew me close as I carried Camille to term and taught me about the dignity of all human life, even mine, and how you need faith and hope and a loving God to embrace that dignity in a broken world. I came home from the Capitol excited but also exhausted. I struggled to be patient with my kids the next day, and I felt very convicted that being pro-life doesn't just mean in the big ways, like opposing abortion. Being pro-life means recognizing the profound dignity of each human being from conception to natural death. People who are facing abortion, suicide, or murder are people who do not know of their own life's value and who may not have been shown the love of Christ by the people around them. I can't say I'm pro-life and then yell at my kids or ignore them and my husband when they so desperately need my affirmation. I can't say I'm pro-life and let my phone distract me when I'm having a conversation with another one of God's creations. Jesus set the ultimate example of being pro-life when he intentionally showed up, loved, suffered, and was murdered so that we might be saved. Each person we meet is someone who needs to be reminded that they are a precious gift from a loving God who desires that they should never perish but have everlasting life. This looks like giving people your full attention when you're talking with them, like St. Mother Teresa did. It means showing up even when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. It means showing grace to those who have taken a destructive path. When we love like Jesus, and only then are we truly pro-life.
I have had enough conflicting emotions over the last few weeks that I've thought about getting my own tomb and getting you all to put a rock across the front of it and just waiting it out. When Dr. Seuss is taken out of Read Across America, then the Grammys open up with some lauded load of things not holy. How's that for a nice word? Of things unholy. I don't get where sanity, normalcy, decency, God is in any of this, and I figured I'd be better off in a tomb. And we get that way sometimes. And then I thought back to a story that any of you that are my age or older have probably heard hundreds of times, but it's a great reminder. It's about a little boy on a beach after a high tide, and he's standing there tossing starfish, and there were thousands of them back into the ocean. And this man comes up and says, "Son, you realize there are thousands of starfish?" And the boy says, "Yes, sir." "This beach goes on for miles. You're not going to make a difference." And the boy just looked down at the ground, picked up another starfish, and gently threw it back into the ocean. And the boy looked up at the man and said, "It made a difference for that one." And bent down and picked up another starfish and gently tossed it back into the ocean. I think too often in our life, we get this sense that we have to fix everything, that we're the ones in control and that we have to do all these things. When in reality, all we need to do, as the other gospel for today, when you don't have the RCA says, is die to ourselves, to realize that it's Jesus that gives us life, Jesus that calls us to do these things, and all we need to do is say yes, and that God will take us out of these dark places, take away that urge to go hide in a tomb, and give us hope. Because God isn't asking us to fix everything. All God is asking us for is to be ourselves And as Dr. Seuss says so well, and I never thought I'd preach on Dr. Seuss in my entire life, but a person is a person, no matter how small. And each of us, as small as we think we are created in the image and likeness of God. God chose us, and as the readings last week said so clearly, we are God's work of art. We are God's masterpieces. Each of us put here for a specific point. And no matter how small we feel, we are created and put here for a purpose. And all we have to do is get over ourselves, get out of our tombs, get out of our dark places and say, God, I am here to make a difference. It's not about how big or small we are. It's about making a difference. Look at our St. Pius X moment. And by the way, she snuck into church. She's in the back somewhere. I'm going to get in trouble for this, especially with her here. 25 years old, without faith, and listens to God's call. She chooses life. She comes to this church. They tried a few churches and they felt welcome. All the people that welcomed them their first time, despite the noise of the little one that you saw crawling up the aisle and you could hear in the background of the video made, people reached out and welcomed them. They stayed. They came to me one day and said, Father Pat, can we get our kids baptized even though we're not baptized? And I said, I can make that work. So the little kids are baptized. And 2 weeks from yesterday, they will be baptized and brought into the church. So when we meet somebody like Aly, we can go, oh, she's just one of a kind, she and her husband. Or we can do everything we can to support her. When she said she needed a car to get to Austin, one of my cars doesn't have a carburetor, so it doesn't run real well right now. I said, take my car. I found another car. Then she said, I'll fill it with gas. And I said, you better. I did not say that. I said, you better not. You're doing God's work. I'll take care of the gas. And she goes up, and they told her to get there bright and early. She left at 7 in the morning. And then they realized the crowd she was going to have, and they postponed, and they postponed, and they postponed. And by the end of the day, she was able to make her point. That's a ray of light. That's the kind of thing we need to celebrate and support. People like Aly and John and their kids. We need to get ourselves out of the way and let all these rays of hope make a difference in our world. We look around at the young people, the little one there playing with her cross. This is her second mass because there weren't enough servers. And so Charlotte wouldn't be there alone. Audrey comes for 8 o'clock mass with her grandpa and then comes and serves again at 12. Thank you. A ray of light, a ray of hope. We don't have to look very hard to see those. People could tell me that having a Catholic school just doesn't make sense. And I could give you a whole bunch of reasons. Financially, it doesn't make sense. But then when you look at the young people, and I look around this room, and there are quite a few of them, that come from our school, it doesn't have to make sense. It just needs to be godly. It needs to help these young people realize that a person is a person, no matter how small, and that God created each one of them for a purpose. Each one of us for a purpose. And I don't care if it doesn't make business sense. It makes God sense. And we have teachers that are woefully underpaid. We have administrators woefully underpaid. And they do it to make a difference. They do it so these young people can be that ray of light that our world needs. Can I fix the mess the Grammys were? No, absolutely not. But I can let God work through me and get out of the way and help these young people realize the gift they are to this world, to help people like Aly and John come into the faith with all these other people that are here saying, hey, we want to be a part of this group, and we can make that time and make this happen, and we can make a difference. Because it's not us, it's God. So every time we want to give up and just go hide in our tomb and say, God, you take this, I'm done, we're forgetting that God has called us each to make a difference. By just getting out of the way and allowing God to work through us. By letting God's light shine and to help us to realize all those other people that need to be supported and loved, and they will make a difference. Charlotte, can I tell your story a little bit? She was sitting at a David Kaufman when he was doing one of our missions. She stood up and made a point, and David said, I should give you the microphone and let you do this. We didn't know who she was at that point. Since then, she's joined our school, and she's made a huge difference. One tiny little voice for St. Pius now, but imagine what she'll do in her future. Because as soon as we forget that central message of who we are, we forget the dignity of what God created us for. And I hate that Dr. Seuss is the one that puts it in such clear perspective. And I know why people don't like it, because it makes statements about life. Because a person is a person, no matter how small, applies to Camille before she was born. And the doctors that said, it's just easier if we terminate this. Life is never terminated by our choice. Life is loved, life is respected, and life is supported. So as we get to these final weeks of Lent, if we're looking at the world around us and we're thinking, what the heck can I do? It's beyond me. Yes, it's beyond me. But it isn't beyond our God. And all we have to do is get ourselves out of the way and say, God, send me where you need me and allow me to be who you've called me to be. This diocese was surprised when I showed up and they said, where do you want to go? I said, I don't care. I don't know the diocese that well. I said, just give me a school. I said, well, that's easy. Which one? I don't care. Like, what? It's like, I don't care. I was in the Air Force. I used to turn in dream sheets, and on one of them I put anywhere that my dad isn't. I went to where my dad was. First assignment as a priest, I said, any place with a school. There are 4 of us. I was the only one that didn't get a school. It doesn't matter. I'll end up where I need to be, and I really don't care. Because I've learned with all the moves I've made that God can work through us at each point wherever we are. And when we get messed up, it's when we think we're the ones doing the work. I bet you if you'd asked Aly a few years ago if she'd ever be speaking and putting videos out, she would have cringed. Look at the good job that she did. If you want to meet her, I bet I can talk her into going to the coffee bar, which is going to be open after this Mass, and there'll be tacos. The Guadalupanos have tacos after Mass. So don't go running out early. Run that way and get some tacos, some donuts, some cookies, and all sorts of stuff. And Emily's going to keep the coffee bar open, and we can look. Because it's easy to get frustrated watching the news. I don't even watch it anymore. I just get what comes across my news feed. When the Grammys happened, I had no clue until a mother came ranting. It's like, I didn't see it. She wouldn't even let me look at it on my own phone. She said, that stuff should not be on our priest's phone. It was that bad. I can't fix that. But what I can do is say, God, I'm here. Use me as you need me. And encourage everyone around me to do the same and to support those that are making a difference. Because as much as it seems silly, I think Dr. Seuss got it right. Each of us created in the image and likeness of God, and there is no person too small. Because a person is a person. Period. Doesn't matter our size, doesn't matter what we think we're capable of. Each of us here for God to work through us to make a difference.